Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Friday. And morning tea time. No cake though, not yet. Good morning, welcome everyone. Do, as usual, pop a hello in the comments if you're there, so that I know I'm not sitting here talking to myself. Which is, I do a lot anyway, but be nice to know I'm not on my own. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Rachel. It is a lovely spring morning here. Good morning, Mo. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Jay from sunny Chadwell Heath. Yes, we have sun and cloud here this morning, but it's nice and springy. Good morning, Caroline. Good morning, Luna. Good morning, Lani. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Lizzie. Maria, have you moved around again? I am up in my witch's parlour. In a more stable, she says, hopefully, position. I have a table and everything set up here now rather than being a bit impromptu. So I am in the witch's parlour. Lizzie's back now, not supporting her granddaughter with her schoolwork. Yes, son's back at school as well. Good morning, Karen. Made a ginger cake today. Yummy. Good morning, Belladonna. Good morning, Martina. Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Lilywitch. Good morning. Lots of lovely people. Welcome to Friday. But yes, I am set up in my witch's parlour now. Still, I need a desk up here at the minute. So I've got everything sort of propped up on a temporary table at the moment. So it should all hang in there. Good morning, Ness. Good morning, Denise. Got to go to the bank with work. Ooh, boo. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Andrea. Yes, I am in the witch's parlour. Everything is pretty much set up here now. Altar, herbs all behind me. Everything's all organised. I just need a proper desk. And I am still working on a clunky old laptop at the moment. So fingers crossed. It's my main computer's downstairs. I have a new flashy microphone, so hopefully the sound is good. I have a decent webcam, she says, hopefully, fingers crossed. Good morning, Kerry. So we're nearly there. We're nearly there on the tech stuff, although our internet decided to crash this morning, so there was a bit of a mad panic. Oh, technology, eh? Technology. Thank you to everybody that asked about Eric. He was poorly in the week. Very listless, very tired, slept all day, didn't bounce at all, wasn't a total git all day, but he is feeling much better and back to his normal total git self now, like he always is. So we have a nice spring morning here by the looks of it. I actually have a window I can look out of. Jane, the sound is excellent. Good, thank you, Jane. Yes, I have got a proper microphone. Rather than relying on the webcam one. So we'll see how we go. Spring is on the way. Definitely spring is on the way. Hope is in the air, all that kind of stuff. Good morning, Tess. Maria, total git. He is a total git, Maria. He is a total git. He is, he's lovely, but he's a total git. So I thought today that I would talk about, good morning, Kay. Good morning, Erin. I thought I would talk about what is a witch. I had other sort of ideas floating around my head, and then something happened, and it kind of prompted me into this. Hi, Debbie. Oh, fingers crossed your delivery arrived. So I thought, what is a witch? And it was kind of prompted originally by, good morning, Xenia. It was prompted originally by, whenever I write for a magazine or an article that I haven't written before, or if I'm doing an event that I haven't spoken for before, they quite often ask for a bio, just literally 1 or 2 sentences to describe who I am and what I do. Good morning, Melody. Good morning, Susie. Good morning, Vicky. Jane, can anyone offer hope for my lovely old salvia hot lips? It looks like it's died. They're not overly hardy, Jane. I would cut it back and fingers crossed that it will grow new growth any minute now, because obviously spring's on the way. We have a salvia hot lips. We cut it right back last autumn because we needed to move it, and it is got new shoots all shooting out from it now, but they're not overly hardy. Good morning, Lisa. Right, anyway, yes, so good morning, Trudy. Yeah, so I have to write a bio, and often it's only a sentence or two. How would you describe who you are and what you do in 1 or 2 sentences? Think about it, because it is quite tricky. It's quite tricky describing yourself anyway. It's very difficult to pimp yourself out, as I like to say. But to come up with 1 or 2 sentences that sum up what I am is quite difficult. And then we get into the realm of labels. I know we all, we've probably all got labels of some sort. Wife, mother, husband, partner, all sorts of labels that you get given depending on who you are, what you're doing, what your job is, or all that kind of things. But do you take on the label of a witch? And I must admit, when I first started on this pathway, way before internet, it was a long time before I felt comfortable calling myself a witch. I was learning myself, so I was completely solitary, and I was learning just from the books I could get hold of, which were all Wiccan books at the time. There wasn't much else out there. And I did feel very strange calling myself the W word for a very, very long time. In fact, I think it was probably only when I finally found a coven to study with that I began to feel comfortable calling myself a witch. And I always have been a witch. Originally, I was Wiccan. I'm not Wiccan now. I am a witch. Kitchen witch, if you want to be more specific, a bit of hedge witch thrown in there as well. I have studied Druidry as well. I did the first year of OBOD, and I worked with a lovely Druid group as well. So I've dipped into lots of different sorts of things, but I think witch has really stuck with me all the way through. Christine says, wise woman. That is a nice title, Christine. I like that. I'd like to be wise one day. One day I will be, she says, hopefully. Good morning, Michelle. Ness says, about the salvia. Planted it in the ground, it went mad. Cut it back every spring. Yeah, cut your salvia back. It'll be fine, I'm sure. Good morning, Vanessa. Debbie, that colour suits you. Thank you. Jess, same here. Felt like a title I had to earn. Yes, I think it is. I think originally I didn't want to call myself a witch because I didn't think I'd earned it. I wasn't nearly experienced enough and didn't have enough knowledge. 30 odd years down the line now, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure I'm knowledgeable enough. But it is a difficult one because I think people do like labels. Back with a cup. Mo's back with a cuppa. Good, good. I've got peppermint and licorice today. It's very yummy. So yeah, I think it is a title that I felt I had to earn. But when I'm putting a bio, it's very difficult to describe what I am and what I do in a few short words as well. And really, does it mean the same for everybody? It's very, very different. Christine says, when I read up the meaning of a witch, can't remember the language, but it came from Wicca, which meant wise woman. There's lots of different versions, isn't there? There are lots of different sources of possible meanings of the word. But what is a witch? And I've written down some descriptions. So I've got a hunched figure crouched over a cauldron, stirring a mysterious brew in the midst of a kitchen cluttered with herbs, lotions and potions, and all manner of unidentifiable items. The ceiling dangling with bunches of herbs drying and a roaring fire in the hearth. Is that a witch? What about the green-skinned hag cackling to herself as she rides up into the skies on her broomstick, having just pushed a couple of children into her oven? Is that a witch? How about a barefoot waif of a girl or boy with long flowing hair adorned with flowers who sings as he or she dances over the meadows wearing tie-dye clothes? Is that a witch? A gypsy sitting in her caravan, complete with headscarf and gold hoop earrings, gazing deeply into her crystal ball. Is that a witch? Teenagers wearing dark clothes, striped tights and black lipstick and heavy eyeliner, dabbling with candles and skulls. Is that a witch? The girls from Charmed, dressed in skimpy outfits, throwing fireballs at demons. Is that a witch? So many different descriptions. Me, sitting here in my room. Lots and lots of different variations, I think, of what people, not necessarily pagans, but people that don't know, see as a witch. And I mean, I've got stripy tights. I've got black eyeliner. Don't wear it all the time, but I've got black eyeliner. I have herbs hanging all over the place, and I have lots of unidentifiable items in in pots, not green-skinned, thankfully. I have run barefoot across the field, just because, you know, why not? I'd love to have a gypsy caravan. That would be fantastic. I have got a crystal ball. But all of those descriptions describe a witch in some form, perhaps more of the Hollywood fiction type. Me in my Red Dwarf t-shirt and my jeans, still a witch. Perhaps not one that obviously looks like one, but still a witch. Ness says, I say pagan mainly, which either sparks interest or silence. Yes. Now, I must admit, if I am out in the real world, at the dentist, for instance, and she says, what do you do? And I say, I'm an author, which is another label, actually, that took me a very, very long time to claim. I think I'd had about 5-6 books published before I actually felt confident enough to say that I was an author. I felt like a fraud beforehand. And I think that, again, is probably experience and confidence in feeling that you can own the title. But yeah, in the dentist, and I said, I'm an author. And she said, oh, anything I would have read. And then you think, how do I answer this? So I usually lead with all books on paganism. If there's silence or, oh, that's nice, then you don't carry on. If there's more questions, then I will say I will move into the witchcraft area of it. But paganism or pagan seems to have a less scary impact than the word witch. And in fact, I found that the word druid has less of a scary impact than the word witch as well, which is interesting because I think we're both very similar. But somehow druid doesn't seem as scary. That maybe we've got Hollywood to thank for that. Christine's too silly to be a wise woman. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Christine. We both are. Yeah, lots of me toos. Jane, I used to feel comfortable being a Catholic witch till my parish priest got wind of it and threatened me with excommunication. Oh, boo. He put me on a painful roller coaster for several years and ended up with us falling out forever. On this year's census, I'm standing up to be counted as a pagan. Yeah, me too, Jane. I have entered pagan in the census. Maria, I call it different or uniquely different. Oh, I like that. Good morning, Sue. You don't have to apologise for being late. Michelle, where did the green-skinned stereotype come from? As far as I know, it's from Wizard of Oz. I think she was the first green-skinned witch. I think it's to make it look evil somehow. I don't know, to be honest. I'd be interested if anybody does. Yeah, Maria put pagan on the census too. Yeah, let's definitely stand up and be counted. Jane says, will stripy ankle socks do? Definitely, Jane, definitely. Tess, long flowing hair with flowers dancing over the meadows and the hills sounds like the sound of music. Oh, absolutely. I'm not going to sing. Don't be worried. Mo has been told I look too sweet to be a witch. It's funny, isn't it, that there is this stereotype idea of what a witch should look like. Jane, all those witchy tools and stuff are our working tools, just like a blacksmith would have tools that suit their way of life and a surgeon would have a pile of sterile stainless steel gizmos. Yes, definitely. Oh, sorry, I'm working. It's my clunky laptop. Sue, I find that too. Druid seems to warm people to you. It's funny, isn't it? It's really, really weird. We have a Druid friend in common, actually, Sue, that he used to go into the schools and talk to the children and teach them workshops and things. And the school knew he was a Druid, and that was absolutely fine. If I was to go into a school and say I'm a witch, I probably wouldn't get through the gates. Although there is a bit of a fib, because I have talked to a group of school children, but we went out to the forest and we did a ritual in the forest. But that was for a very enlightened RE teacher. So yeah, I think it is. Druid, for some reason, does seem to be far more acceptable. Mo says, I think people have a romantic notion of druids. Yeah, I wonder what it is. It's strange, isn't it? Xenia, sorry, my thing's jumping about. Also, witch is a powerful label for female strength. Though, of course, there are male witches. Absolutely, we do not discriminate here at all. It's all different approaches, what witch means to people, and I think they are all valid. Absolutely. It helps to ask people what a witch is for them to know their approach, to avoid misunderstandings. I don't like the attitude you aren't eligible to call yourself a witch because you don't do this or that. Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that drew me to the path of witchcraft was the fact that you can tailor it and make it personal to suit yourself. It's a very, very individual pathway. There's obviously commonalities that run through, and I will cover some of those in a sec. But yes, it's a personal journey, absolutely. And I think there are different branches. So I do tend to land up with the Kitchen Witch label. I'll also gladly take Hedge Witch. But I think there are, I'm not Wiccan, but that is another pathway. There are all sorts of different, I did write some down because I have a brain like a sieve. So there are Gardnerian witches as well, different pathways with that. Let's have a look what else I wrote down. Green Witch, Alexandrian Wicca, Dianic, Sayax Wiccan, Fairy Witch, all sorts, Hellenic. There's all sorts of, for want of a better word, different pagan pathways as well. Shamanic practices, ceremonial, heathen, Strega witchcraft, Greco-Roman. There is an enormous list of different pathways. Each of those will have specifics that you learn about, and different ways of working with things that kind of slot you into that box, if you like, pathway. But I do take a pick and mix from things. I do still work with my Wiccan roots because it had a good structure for me. I work a lot, obviously, with the kitchen witchcraft, and I do hedge riding and a lot of hedge witchery. But I dabble into all sorts of bits and pieces. I love working with hoodoo as well because I work with European folk magic, and there's so many crossovers with that and hoodoo. So I take bits and pieces. It's someone said once it was like a spiritual buffet. I take my pick and mix from it, and I do, and I make it my own pathway. I was giving a talk at Witchfest one year, and I said that I don't like the word eclectic. I must admit, if you're happy with that, then absolutely fine. It doesn't feel quite right for me. I think I'm more of a miscellaneous witch, which seems to kind of fit with me. And after I'd finished the talks, a very lovely lady came up to me and said that she believed I should call myself a cocktail witch, which is obviously far classier than miscellaneous witch. That's what it says on the tin. But I don't know why we do need these labels, don't we? And I think really, although perhaps as witches, we don't like the norm, we count ourselves out of the norm, there is something in our human nature that makes us want to feel like we fit in somewhere. So I think that's why we like having the labels, to be honest. I'm just scrolling up because I've missed lots of comments. So good morning, Leslie. Christine, witches hiding in woodlands and herbal work makes skin go green, hence green fingers. Mine are brown because I love fingers in the earth too much. Mine are a little bit purple because I peeled loads of beetroots yesterday. Lani, I might start wearing stripy tights to school and see what the kids say. Do it, Lani, it'll be fun. Xenia, I think ordinary people are still frightened by the term witch. Yes, they are. I think it's lack of knowledge, isn't it? Lack of understanding. So people may prefer to call themselves pagan, druid, spiritual and such, even though they also do witchcraft. Well, that's the interesting thing as well, isn't it? You can be a witch and not be pagan. We'll get onto that in a minute, just to be really confusing. Sue, the people in my village think I'm a witch. It keeps them away from me. Good plan. Mo, I have been asked if I cook a lot of herbs because there are a few hanging around. I say yes, but use them in potions and lotions. That often brings a lot of questions. Yeah. Xenia, even within the pagan community, I've seen resentment against witches. That's human nature, Xenia. Basically, a lot of humans are really pants. Luna, do you think we should have a new name for witch? No, absolutely not. We've got, sorry, I didn't mean that, not meaning rude, Luna. It's a good question. I think we are losing so many of our traditions, names, and histories. Everything's being rewritten at the minute. I am going to cling on to the name witch till my dying breath. I am a witch with a capital W. But yeah, it's a good question, Luna. I'm not sure what we would call ourselves. And I think there are lots of options. If you're not happy with the W word, there are lots of options to call yourself. It's whatever you feel comfortable with, really. Tess says, I think we are never just one thing. We're lots of things. Yes, as there are lots of aspects to us. I am a maternity consultant, actor, witch, singer, crafter. Good resume, Tess. Good resume. Well, we are, aren't we? We do have all these other titles. I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a personal assistant. I'm an author. I'm a teacher. I'm a completely bonkers at the minute. We do. We have all these different titles, don't we? Jane says eclectic witch covers it. It does. It does cover it, but there's just something about that word that doesn't sit right with me personally. I don't know why. Sue, can I say there are 3 steps to becoming a druid, but I don't like labels, so druid I am. Yes, there's 3 levels, isn't there? There's bard, ovate, and druid, isn't there? So I did the bardic level. Interesting stuff, and lots of similarities between druids and witches. Carla, my daughter's primary school wouldn't even allow any Halloween activities because of the connotations of witches and the devil. However, her being 5 meant she was quite vocal about telling them I was a witch. Yeah, kids will always drop you in it. Lizzie calls herself an eclectic pagan. It is a good one, isn't it? Because it does sort of cover all sorts of things. Vanessa, I should count myself quite lucky. I work in a school and they know I'm a witch. I'm lucky. My boss knows that I'm a witch as well. He couldn't really avoid it, let's be honest. That would be my boss in my real job, my personal assistant job. Mo, it was the same in my old village, but some came knocking, asking for spells and healing. That's it, isn't it? It is surprising once word gets out, the amount of people that aren't pagan or witches or into any of that stuff that actually then contact you. To find out or to get help or to get spells or healing. Maria, I'm quite interested in hoodoo. It is a fascinating subject, Maria. It is a magical practice and it draws on an awful lot of folk magic. You will find that you're already doing a lot of it. Things such as witch bottles and spell pouches are all folk magic. Ness, pick and mix. Yeah, pick and mix witch. That's me. Sorry, it's all jumped up again. Scroll, 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 scroll. Jane, how do you define hedge riding? Okay, so the hedge is, it's an in-between place. It is the boundary between this world and the other world. So to do hedge riding, it is a little bit meditation, it's a little bit journey, it's a little bit trance. It's done in various ways depending on what pathway you're working, but a hedge witch will literally cross the hedge into the other world. But there are 3 worlds, so you're talking lower world, mid world, upper world, Asgard, Midgard, Hell. The 3 different worlds, and all of the other world spirits are in various places in the other world. So it is journeying basically across the hedge, across the boundary, into the other worlds to seek guidance, to seek healing, much as you would on any kind of journey or trance work. Christine says, when I have, there is a video, actually, there's a video chat on YouTube about it. I think it's meditation, journeying and hedge riding over on my YouTube channel. Christine, when I have been asked if I was a witch, I always said yes. And when I got the usual funny look, I then added, I'm a white witch. Now, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't know anybody that calls himself a white witch because we don't. Maybe some people do. I don't know. I'm not. I think White Witch does seem to calm people down, doesn't it? If they're not knowledgeable about witchcraft, you add the word white in front of it, and it all is fine. But as far as I'm aware, witchcraft isn't that black and white. It really, really isn't. If you want to give me a colour, then I'm a grey witch, because I walk the line between the two. I think there has to be light to appreciate the dark. There has to be dark to appreciate the light. I think it's about getting a balance of both. But yes, it's interesting, isn't it, that White Witch does seem to make people feel a bit more at ease. Mo likes the spiritual buffet. We all like a buffet, Mo. Maria, when cafes were open, I would read your books and people would give me a wide berth. That's a good way of keeping people away from not sitting next to you on a train as well, I would imagine. Sue, we cannot please everyone. The only person we need to please is ourselves. Oh, absolutely. I've had a week of that, Sue. Debbie's moved to a different location. Hello. Xenia, bad reputation keeps the fleas away. Never heard that before, but it's wise. Michelle, wear witch as a badge of honor. I do now, Michelle. I do, absolutely. But I think it takes a little bit of experience and confidence to do that. Sue's a pain in the ass, but that's a story for another time. Ness loves the witch icon. Yes, this side, isn't it? In the corner of the screen. Look, ooh, magic. It's just flying in. Magic of technology. Mo once took grandchildren to school in one of her cloaks. Some stared and others came and asked me where I got it from. Some asked if it had a meaning, so to those I explained. I was surprised I had good reactions. One came straight out and asked if I was a witch. I said yes, and they replied, oh. Yeah, I've never hidden it, obviously. It's very difficult not to hide it. But I am very lucky. I haven't had any negative responses. I've had disbelief. I've had friends of my children not believing, because as far as they're concerned, witches are from Disney. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I have been lucky. I haven't had any negative. Sorry, this jumps about. We'll get organized. Talk amongst yourselves while I scroll up. Maria, I have that badge and 2 dresses with witches on them. Yes, if you're going to do it, let's be out there and do it. Debbie, like the tarot cards, I find a lot of people aren't comfortable with knowing that I like them. It's an interesting one as well, isn't it? You'll find that people will shy away from you if they think you're a witch, but then come and ask for a tarot reading. Jane, here, Michelle, in honour of all those witches who went through hell, we don't know we're born these days. We are very lucky. I know there are some parts of America that still struggle with the discrimination against it, but yeah, we are lucky. Andrea, if you call yourself a witch openly, I guess you also have to get out of the broom closet, and possibly more than once, depending on who you're talking to about it. Yes. And you never know what you're going to meet when you step outside of the closet as well. If you are still in the closet for your own personal reasons, that's absolutely fine. No one is going to judge you for that. Trust me. It is sometimes it is the safest place to be, depending on how your family, friends, or people in your area are. There's no right or wrong way here. Xenia is an eclectic witch and a hedge witch doing journeying. Yep, it's there's usually more than one kind of title, I think. There you go. William, hi William. William is a druid, hedge witch, and reclaiming Dianic witch and Wiccan. Yeah, lots and lots of titles to describe what we do, because we are, well, we're multitaskers basically, aren't we? Multitaskers. Jane, thank you. So glad riding the hedge doesn't involve prickles and spiders. I never said that, Jane. There's no guarantee you won't meet spiders on the other side. Just saying. Don't let it put you off. It's a fascinating thing to work with. Lani, White Witch is something out of the Wizard of Oz, I think. Oh, Glenda was Glenda the Good Witch, wasn't it? I know, fabulous outfits, obviously. Michelle, Stevie Nicks. Yes, Stevie Nicks has often described herself as a white witch, and I think that is, again, probably just to calm the media down. But hey, if you want to call yourself a white witch, go for it. Absolutely go for it. I am not judging it. If you want to call yourself the great Winnie Pooh Bear of the Round Table, I don't care. You call yourself whatever you want to, whatever suits you and makes you happy. Andrea says, I recently read a blog about the terms white magic witch and black magic witch because these colours say little about the kind of magic and can be seen as kind of racist. Yeah, we're getting into this now, aren't we? Yes, I think perhaps it is better to call it light and dark. Rather than black and white. I don't know. I don't see it as racist at all. It's a colour to me, and white is light and black is dark. And I think that is the meaning behind it, isn't it? Is that people assume that if you're a white witch, then you're love and light and don't ever harm or do anything, and you skip about like Glenda the Good Witch. And if you're a black witch, then or work with black magic, then you are evil Disney, witch in the woods kind of thing. I think it's interesting, and I don't think there should be colours associated with it, because I think if you work witchcraft, then you are walking between the two, really, between good and bad and light and dark, and there are balances and opposites to everything. And I think part of being a witch is walking that line between them. But, that's my personal opinion. Yours may differ, and that's absolutely fine. Sue is a purple druid witch. So your elfin coat is purpled. We like purple witch. Purple witch, that's a good one. Sorry, I'm jumping about here again. I won't sing. I'll put you some music while you're on hold. All the comments just jumped up. Right. Vanessa, if I'm to be defined by colour, I guess I'm a kind of greeny grey. Yeah, I think, it's about balance, and it's walking the line between, isn't it? Jane says, white conjures up a dyed-in-the-wall mental image of vintage purse lads. Yes, get your whites white. Hi, Petronella. Andrew's popped the link to the blog. Thank you, Andrew. Read that later. Petronella, I wear a lot of witchy garb now. I work from home. Some people know I use tarot cards, different reactions, sometimes no reactions, still mostly in the broom closet. And it's fine, not everybody wants to be out there or needs to be out there or should be out there. It's entirely a personal choice. Xenia, purple witch is cool. It's my favourite colour. Second favourite is green. Purple does seem to appear quite a lot in witchy clothing and various items, doesn't it? I associate it with psychic work and magic. So yeah, definitely. Jane says, best to have a little sly hole in the closet door. If the wrong person goes in, keep mum. Yeah, you need one of those, little things that you can look out of to see who's on the other side of it. Lizzie, I've been called a witch since I was a teenager, so whilst I introduce myself as an eclectic pagan, it's more of a testing the water title. Yeah. Once they react, I duly explain or leave it there. I've never been in a coven, as I tend to prefer being solitary, and I do my own thing, but I am a witch, wise woman, hedge witch. It's interesting, isn't it, that the whole pagan word does seem to be easier to accept. But there are some witches that aren't pagan. And here we get into the practice versus religion idea. Maria says, I have no idea what a reclaiming Dianic witch is. Maria, have a look on the forum, the Kitchen Witch forum in the Witchcraft Pathways. There's a whole list that goes into all the different types, and Dianic witchcraft is on there. Mo, I have been asked if I am just a witch at the weekend and it's an extra job. Oh dear. Morning, Heather. Christine's a yo-yo witch, from black witch to white witch. Yeah. Yep, I'm with you there. Good morning, Kay. It's all jumped up again. Sue, you call a policeman, so a witch is a witch. We used to call policemen. We're probably not allowed to call them that now. Probably has to be police officer, because the world's gone a little bit squiffy. Sue says Glenda the witch was like a wet rag. She was definitely a wet hen, that one, bless her. But she wore pretty frocks, so. Kay, I used to say there were white witches and black witches until I realised it's best only used to those terms to describe the energy and not the person, but even then rarely use that term now. Yeah, I don't think it's a term that it's one that's kind of gone out of trend, hasn't it? I think it's about understanding. We learn things, don't we? We do learn as we go along, and we do experience things and terms and things that we used to use. Once you've got a little bit more knowledge or experience, you don't. It's there's no right or wrong, I don't think. No right or wrong. Maria, isn't it that the witch that is green had some condition, that's why she's green? You didn't dream it, Maria. It's in the book Wicked, the book that was written about I can't think of her name now. It begins with an E. The Green Witch from Wizard of Oz. Wicked is a fiction book that's written about her life story. It's actually a brilliant book. But yes, it was that she was born with a green condition. William, thank you. William says, Dianic witchcraft is an environmentalist, feminist, and social activist, witch tradition founded by Starhawk. Thank you, William. Trudy, I am the member of the family who has caused chaos at Christmas when they ask me what gift you would like. My mum is like, pardon? So I do not title myself unless they ask, and I would be honest to try to tell what my path is. Yeah, I think that's the other thing as well, isn't it? How do you describe it? We can't always put into words exactly what our pathway is. It can be a tricky one. But I want to just cover paganism and witchcraft. So paganism is a religion. It is I think it's a nature-based religion that where you work in tune with the planet, in harmony with the seasons. You look after nature, you look after the planet and all the animals and people on it. I think perhaps the common denominator between all of the paganism pathways under its umbrella is perhaps nature. It is a defining kind of connection between them all. But paganism is the religion. I also think paganism covers working with the old gods, but again, not necessarily, because, you know, we pick and choose. It might be that someone chooses to work with Mother Earth, Father Sky, or nature spirits or elementals rather than deities. But I think paganism is a huge umbrella, but it is a religion. Hence being able to put pagan on the census form, because it is an official religion. Witchcraft is seen not as a religion, but as a magical practice. So you can be any religion and work witchcraft. I think someone mentioned about being Roman Catholic and working witchcraft. I know several Christo-pagans who managed to work Christianity in with their witchcraft. I also know lots of pagans that work witchcraft in all different ways. And I also know quite a lot of Druids, actually, that don't work with gods, but just work with nature as a whole. I think there's all sorts of different versions of it, if you like. But witchcraft is the actual magical practice. You work witchcraft. Hoodoo is the same. Folk magic is the same. It is a magical practice that you work with. So it is the spells and the lotions and the potions. That is witchcraft as a magical practice. However, I am definitely a pagan witch. I work with the old gods. I work with nature spirits. I work with the other world. And I work with witchcraft. So if you want to give me an exact title of my religion, faith, how I live my life, I am a pagan witch. However, I actually think that witchcraft can become a faith, if that makes sense. I know it's not technically right, but I do think being a witch is my faith. It is how I live my life. It's how I work. It's how I do everything. It is not wife, mother, human being, witch, all in separate boxes. It all comes together. I am always a witch. I am always a pagan, no matter what I'm doing, where I am. Even when I'm doing my regular personal assistant job, I am still a witch. And for me, it is a faith. But technically, paganism is the religion, witchcraft is the practice. But again, you know, take it how you want it, really. Luna, my daughter called me a witch once. She thought she was being mean. Yes, I've had that said to me. Oh, you're such a witch. Thank you. Very kind. Yeah. So you turn it into a compliment, definitely. Kay, also, as I understand it to be now a full witch, you need to know about all energies, but it is choice how you work. Personally, anything to do with love and balance is where I'm at. I also think old folklore is knowing the land and its magic. So most people are witches and don't know it. Yeah, I don't think there is no. Someone asked me this question the other day. There is no charter, there's no guideline, there's no rule book that says you have to do this, that, and the other to become a witch. There's actually nothing that says that you can't call yourself a high priestess. That was a question I was asked the other day. Although most people, myself included, have earned the title of high priestess. It's a Wiccan title generally, although there are some other witchcraft covens that use it, my coven included. I worked through the 3 Wiccan degrees. It took me 8 years, although I did have a baby in the middle, so, you know. And there was a lot of learning. There was a lot of knowledge imparted. There was a lot of experience gained. I really feel I earned my high priestess title. And although I don't use it very often, I am very proud of it. It took me a lot of time and effort to earn it. However, anyone can call themselves a high priestess or a high priest. There is no official, it's not like the priesthood where you have to do the proper training and all that kind of stuff. Anyone can call themselves high priest. Anyone can call themselves lord or lady. Once you gain the high priestess title, you are allowed to be called lady and then whatever your witchcraft name is. So I am Lady Tansy Fire Dragon. Again, I don't use it very often, but there is no official kind of regulation for it. The same as with a witch. You don't have to have any proper training to call yourself a witch. You can open a book, read the first page and decide to call yourself a witch. But I think out of respect, once you are within that craft, you kind of learn and begin to learn that actually it takes an awful lot more than just reading a book to become a witch or a high priestess, come to that. So I think it is about experience. There was a story once I heard about a high priestess who was 16 and a high priestess. There ain't not enough time to learn the knowledge and experience that you need to be a high priestess at the age of 16. My personal opinion. However, yes, anyone can call himself a witch. There is there's no gauge, there's no O-levels or GCSEs or diplomas to become a witch. So you can call yourself whatever you want, really. It's when you feel confident enough to do it. Just make sure that you have the knowledge and experience to back it up should someone test you on it, I guess. They've all jumped about again. Sue has a friend. Yes, I have one. Sue, you've got lots of friends. I count myself as one of them. Who's a Quaker Druid. That's an interesting combination. I find it fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Okay. No offense meant with the term fool. Oh, no offense to. We don't take offense here, Kay. Honestly, we don't. Seriously, there's enough of that out in the world at the moment. We don't take offense here. I love these Friday mornings. They're brilliant. We can connect and exchange, and it's brilliant. No offense ever taken. Xenia, yes, there are also pagans who don't work magic but worship and pray to deities. Yes, now I could be wrong here, but I think the general thing is that witches work spells and druids don't. There are a huge amount of similarities between the pathways. We study the same texts. We work with the same gods. We all work with nature. I think witches tend to work spells more and druids don't necessarily. But that's not a blanket thing. That is just my interpretation of it. I am happy to be corrected on that. Okay, the term yoga is said. It's everywhere in everything you do. So which life is the same? Yoga's a bit bendy for me, Kay. There you go. Lizzie, I think calling myself pagan is a way to identify that I'm not Christian. Now, that's interesting too, isn't it? Because the census has brought up a few things. Whenever my children have started a new school, I've had to fill in a form to register them, and it always asks what their religion is. And I filled in forms for myself for things that have asked what my religion is, and I put pagan. But when I was a child, my mum filled in the same forms, I'm sure, and she always used to put C of E, Church of England, which now I think about it, we never went to church. I was sent to Sunday school, but I'm pretty sure that was just to get me out of the house for a morning so my mum and dad could have a bit of peace and quiet. And in actual fact, I did end up joining a Baptist church myself in my late teens. I belonged to a Baptist church for 5 or 6 years in the end. But my family's not what I would call Christian. They are not churchgoers. But she always used to put Church of England on any of the forms. And I think perhaps it is something that you just do. It's a kind of a default setting, if you like, to put Christian if you're not anything else. I don't know. I could be wrong. My husband doesn't have a faith. He worships at the altar of rock and roll. This computer's just telling me my battery's low, but it's plugged into the mains. So bear with me 2 seconds while I disappear and plug my computer in. Technology, eh? Technology. Here we go. I am still here. Bear with me while I plug the computer in. There we go. I thought I'd done it, but obviously I hadn't. Anyway, yes. So I think, is it atheist? Is that just a bit scary to put atheist because you don't believe in anything? So Christian is the default. I don't know. It's a thought. Jane says, witches can gather, cleanse themselves, learn from each other, break bread, share ale, and go forth. So it's very similar to religious practice. I think there are so many crossovers with all of the religions. There are things that we all do in all the different religions that are similar to each other. So there is such a crossover. Jane says, do you think we can gain our knowledge of the craft over several lifetimes? Absolutely. I think as a witch, quite often you aren't learning it, you're remembering it. So absolutely, yes. Sue, you just want me to make me say that word on camera, don't you? Sue says, I saw this week that yoga makes you fart. I don't think I'll try it. Oh dear. Yeah, okay, yoga's far too bendy. I have tried it. It's far too bendy. Leslie thinks the same. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's just, I'm not necessarily right. Don't tell my husband I'm not, but Christine, as the song is, we are the old witches, we are the new witches, we are the old witches better than before. I love that song and I'll sing it loud and proud. Yep, I'm with you there, Christine. I can't sing, but I'll do it anyway. Lizzie's never been to a church. That's interesting, Lizzie. It is. They are fascinating places. I do love going to the old churches. Xenia, my family was Christmas Christian, only going to church at Christmas. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? My family do celebrate Christmas and Easter, but yeah, never go to church. Xenia says the altar of rock and roll is always good. It is indeed, Xenia. Maria, I don't associate the two, even though I was christened. I don't think about it. I was christened too, but there are a lot of crossovers in all of the faiths. There are a lot of things that are done the same. Sue says, oh, let's see, it's jumped up again. My hubby prays at the altar of Queen. Oh, yeah, Pete would be there. Pete would be there. Queen and Thin Lizzie. Yep, definitely. Trudy, my mum did the same as I'm not christened, just went to Sunday school as my friend did, and they went on lovely trips. Yeah. Xenia's other religion is Doctor Who. Yeah, I can accept that. Mine would probably be Stargate Atlantis. But Vanessa, there is nothing wrong with being flexible. I'm envious. I am envious. Christine, churches are pagan healing places. Well, bear in mind that a lot of the churches were built on pagan worship sites. So a lot of the old churches are fascinating places. Sue suggesting belly dancing is much better than yoga. Don't need to practice the wobble. Oh, my husband's noticed that. You're not always right. I am always right. Jane says, if yoga makes you fart, there must be a lot of yoga in parsnips and sprouts. I can't believe we're having these conversations. I love parsnips and sprouts. Kay says, I believe the crossover is very similar, including, I have to say, that statement, they have stolen a lot of things from us, like the saints' names. I think there are a lot of crossovers, and not just with Christianity. There's the way I see deity is, I've probably told you this before, but I'm going to tell you again. I see deity as, in the beginning, there was one. Male, female, neither, both. Who knows? But one. One spirit, one entity, one belief, one creator, creatrix. And the faith spread across the planet. And each culture took that one thing and interpreted it in their own way. So each culture will have interpreted the faith and the belief, because man would have started praying, worshipping for the sun to come up, for the rain to come down, because they relied on all of that to live, basically. So, you know, a faith would have evolved, but each culture would have worked it in their own beliefs. So in the Hindu gods and goddesses all look Indian. The Viking gods and goddesses all look Viking. The Greek gods and goddesses all look Greek. They're all wearing togas. You know, it's every culture interpreted that same one faith in their own way, and they put their own spin on it. But there are similarities running through all of them. There are particularly Greek and Roman, the gods of same gods, different names. But take, for instance, the Kalak, ancient goddess, slightly blue tinged skin, crone goddess, deals with death and rebirth. Other side of the planet in India, Kali Ma, blue skin, death and rebirth, crone goddess. There's lots of similarities around the world, and I think every culture interpreted that same one beginning and made it their own faith. So there's lots of crossovers, because I actually see the deities as the goddess, the god, whoever it was in the beginning, one big diamond. And all the different deities, all the different gods and goddesses are different facets of that same one diamond. They've all got their own individual personalities and characteristics, but they are ultimately all part of the same one. That's my interpretation of it. Yours may be different. There is no right or wrong, because let's face it, no one really knows. So you interpret it how you see it. Lizzie says, I do go into churches and have been in chapel to see my daughter perform, but not for a service. We actually did a Druid ritual inside church hall once, which was very interesting. Oh, Lizzie's recommending Tai Chi is a good alternative to yoga, not so bendy. Zenny says, a lot of old churches are stunning. They are, especially the Gothic ones. I love to visit them and hang around, not going to the church services, but liking the architecture and the sacred spaces. They are beautiful buildings, most of them. I think even the modern ones have got something to them. Kay loves belly dancing. Maria says there are a lot of green man ladies. You'll find Sheelina gigs as well in quite a lot of the old churches as well. There are lots of green men inside old churches, because they just replaced the spot, you know. Whether they thought pagans were really stupid or not, I don't know. Let's just build our church on this pagan site and maybe they won't notice. I don't know. Sue loves churches, graveyards and cemeteries. The history is amazing, but I would not like to be planted with one. No, not for me. But yes, they are fascinating places. Kay is apologizing for mentioning yoga. I have done yoga, Kay. I have done yoga, and it is a fascinating thing to do. And quite spiritual and quite meditative, but my poor old body's not overly happy. Sorry, things are jumping up here. Christine, my wicked side of me goes into churches and signs the visitor's book as a witch. Christine, you're never going to go to heaven. Oh, Leslie says that makes sense. It's only my interpretation, it's just little old me who says, there are lots of ideas about it. Xenia says, exactly, the one faith being interpreted differently. Also, the climate has a lot of influence, how strict or nice the deities are. Like a rough climate, like the desert, or very cold, rough climate leads to gods that are more strict and more rules, because if you don't pay attention, you'll die. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it is fascinating, all the different deities and how they are very much connected to the land that they're on and the culture. Jane says most of Catholic rites and rituals so pagan, and how magic is transubstantiation. Wow, that's a big word. They must have thought our ways were great to want to steal them, and their image of the devil is like our image of the horned god. They stole that to put the fear of God in people. It's interesting, isn't it? There are so many old tales of the witches being persecuted because they were believed to be in league with the devil, which when you think, pagan witches, we don't have the devil in their belief system. So yeah, Christianity has got a lot to answer for, I must admit. But, like any faith, it has good and bad. And I think it's entirely up to every individual person to believe what they want to believe in. It's your pathway, and I'm not going to judge anyone for your beliefs. Absolutely not. Xenia says, I love the green man and the green ladies, the foliage. Yeah, they are. See, they're quite general too, aren't they? I mean, you can go into any garden centre and find green man statues and plaques and things, and regular people buy them because they think they'll look nice in the garden, but have no idea about the history of them. It's interesting, very, and the same with, there seems to be a trend now of Buddha in all of the house department stores. Buddha statues, Buddha pictures, and people just buy them and put them in their home. They have no idea what the connection is or what they're to do with anything. Very strange. Very strange. Jane says, Christians creating an image of evil as devil simply created a role model for people who want to do bad stuff. The other thing is, I did go, I went to church for 5 or 6 years, and I loved it. I knew I had a faith. I think that was the thing. I knew I had a faith, and I knew I believed in something. And it was very important to me, but I struggled with the idea of the devil. I struggled that there was this evil entity, and I could never make my peace with it. I could never understand it. No one could ever answer my questions as to why he was there or for what reason. And I think that was ultimately one of the things that helped me walk away from it. I just couldn't match it up in my head. I just couldn't. It didn't work. Lani says, I've had many people say, do you worship the devil, when they've asked about my path? It is misunderstanding and lack of knowledge. You're right. Absolutely. It is, Lani. Lack of knowledge. Kay, I love that thought you described of how we started as one group, splintered off into, it's jumping up, sorry. I've got a very big screen. Splintered off into different belief systems. I love the natural side of witchcraft. People found the plants out of necessity to heal, absolutely. And yet today, some ignore that wonderful old folklore and the natural magic people made people called witches with a negative impact instead of embracing the magic of life. And I think that was lack of knowledge again. It was fear, wasn't it? A fear of not being understanding. The woman or man that lived on the edge of the village that worked all the magic lotions and potions with the herbs and things could cure people. Probably killed a few along the way accidentally, but cured a lot of people. And that would have been seen as magic. Here, have some herbs. Oh, and you're all better now. Magic. And it was that lack of understanding and that lack of knowledge would have made people frightened of them. They'd still go and see them when they needed healing, and they'd probably still go and see them when they wanted their neighbour's cow hexed or something as well, because they knew they had that power. But they feared it as well. They did fear it. Xenia says, it shows that people feel drawn to the comforting energy of a Buddha statue or a green man. It's within us. That's an interesting concept, Xenia. I hadn't thought about it from that point of view. Yes, they buy the Buddha statues to put in their living room because they think it will bring a certain sort of peace, maybe. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. I think lots of people do things that they don't actually understand and that have deeper meanings. Melissa says, Christians put their churches on pagan holy ground because it was prayed up. There was spiritual energy on those places, so why start over when it's already broken? Yes, that would make sense. Lizzie, I could not understand how benevolent God would send people to hell. Yes, I think that was my real problem that I had following the Christian faith, was that there was such a horrible God and, place that he lived in. Yeah, Maria, lots of people, I do see, they do, don't they? They see witch and then they link it with the devil. And then you have to explain, no, that's a Christian one. Jane says witchcraft should go on the national curriculum and so should paganism. I do think paganism should be included on the national curriculum, not witchcraft. I don't think witchcraft should be taught to children necessarily, not in the form that we recognize it as. I think they love working with crystals, and I think it's important to introduce them to nature and all the connection of nature. I think witchcraft is something that should be taught later on, but paganism should definitely be included in the national curriculum without a doubt. It's a religion. It should be taught along with all the others. Leslie, I think the devil was invented to keep people in line through fear. Quite possibly, Leslie, quite possibly. But that he was a fallen angel, wasn't he? Apparently. Christine, I once told a vicar that his congregation were hypocrites. He was shocked and I warned him not to cross them. A few years later, I heard he got the guitar. Oh dear, how forgiving some church congregations are. He knew I was a witch. I hope he remembers what I said. Now, see, I belonged to a Baptist church, so there were lots of guitars and drums and lots of singing. It was the fun Christian pathway to follow. Melissa, we've all been hurt by Christians, but please do try to have mercy on them. No, I'm not. When I say anything that I say today, I'm not trashing anyone's faith. No matter what that faith is, it's entirely up to each person to have their own beliefs, and I don't judge any of them at all. It's each individual person's choice, and that's absolutely how it should be. Just as we should be allowed to practice as pagan witches, or any kind of witches, or any kind of pagans, everyone else should be allowed to practice their own faith too, as long as no one gets hurt, obviously. Yeah, Tess says the devil, one fallen angel. Lucifer, yes, that's interesting, isn't it? Is portrayed in several TV shows as a petulant toddler who has been wronged by his father. He acts like a naughty child because his behavior was never corrected as a child. Lucifer Morningstar, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Lucifer with Tom Ellis. Yes, that is. Apparently Tom Ellis is hot. I have strange taste in men. He's not my type. Lucifer in Supernatural. Mark Pellegrino was always acting like a small toddler having a tantrum. There's a whole pagan side to Lucifer, which is worth investigating. Things are not as you would see. Yeah, but that's Hollywood again, isn't it? Michelle, still have my icons of St. Michael and the Virgin Mary because they are still significant to my spirituality. Absolutely, Michelle, and you should be able to work it any way that you want to. And in actual fact, I have worked with Mary before in the form of a deity. Fascinating deity to work with. Very, very strong lady, actually. Maria says, I look at witchcraft as a pathway of life, and paganism is the umbrella surrounding that if you follow paganism. Yep. That works for me, Maria. Lani, it helps schools, children, and adults have an understanding about paganism and that it's not all the horror stories that they think. That's education, isn't it? It is knowledge. It's teaching people about it. Jane says, a lot of pagan sites of worship now occupied by churches are on ley lines. I wonder if they moved them if they knew. You never know. Maria, what's wrong with the guitar? I know guitar, see, rock music. It's a pathway to hell. Definitely. Oh no, Melissa, I didn't think you were accusing me at all. I can hear the hurt in people's comments. No need to apologize. Absolutely, it needed to be made clear. Absolutely not. Everyone should be able to practice at all. You won't offend me, honestly. It's a chat. We've all got to put our stuff into it, haven't we? Kay's from a Christian background, and yet I know some leaders in this religion historically were incredibly manipulative, and fear was a form of control. My understanding of God is nowhere near to do with fear, but more like a knowledgeable parent who knows there are consequences to our actions and blessings for our good work. Kay, you nailed it. Absolutely. But I don't think it's just Christianity, is it? There are leaders in all kinds of religions across the globe that like to manipulate. I don't think it is purely with Christianity. And let's face it, we've had the odd pagan one as well that's not been too hot either. So human beings are involved. Whenever human beings are involved, you'll get a bad one. You get a bad penny. It just happens. Christine says, please note all comments I give are for entertainment purposes only. Have respectful faith. Oh yeah, we've got to have a laugh. Let's not get into snowflake territory here. We need to have a laugh. Everything that we say and do on these chats is all with respect, utmost respect, but you do have to still have a sense of humor, because we would be done and dusted without a sense of humor. Xenia, I have Archangel Michael statue and some Mary statues, and I love them. Yeah, it's whatever works for you. Absolutely. Xenia, also one of St. Anthony, and a now empty glass candle of St. Jude. Yeah, I know a lot of witches that work with angels and archangels. Not my pathway particularly, but they do. And if it works for you, go for it. Absolutely. Kay says, my hubby said I shouldn't have a Buddha in the house. Idolatry. But as was said before, Buddha represents peace, serenity, meditation, and treating all people well. And I don't idolize Buddha. No, I think you have what works for you. Yeah, Maria, disclaimer. Yeah, got to put a disclaimer on. Don't want anybody to sue me. Melissa said, someone mentioned ley lines. Yes, churches know about those. And again, they're just attracted to the energy. Yeah. Kay says, if you can't laugh about life and with people, it's going to be a sad life. Absolutely. Jane had a Victorian dad who thought rock music was corrupt and evil. I had to beg and beg to be allowed to watch Top of the Pops when the Kinks were in it. One time he got so cross he emptied his ashtray over my head. Oh, no. It's different beliefs, isn't it? It is different beliefs. Being corrupted by rock and roll. I would have been corrupted by all sorts of things. It wasn't just rock and roll. Well, it wasn't rock and roll. It was 80s pop, actually. I had loads more stuff to talk about today, but we've gone way over time. Not that there is a time really set, but fascinating talk. Trudy says, devil is an image given to the negative energies felt by the people who did not understand what they were feeling at the time. So then transcended to the belief that wise women were that image. But these poor women were only positive, environmental loving herbalists like me. Glad I'm not in those darker days. Yep. Absolutely, Trudy. Yeah, that's interesting. Negative energies felt that people didn't understand. Again, we're back to not understanding things, aren't we? And lack of knowledge, definitely. So yeah, lots of stuff talked about today. Thank you. Absolutely fascinating talk. Melissa says, funny that the same people who call deity statues and icons idolatry, I can't say that word, idolatry, put up a nativity each year, have religious art in their homes. Yeah, it's... what works for one doesn't work for another, and we've all perhaps got mixed ideology. It's interesting, isn't it? But I actually, I used to love going to the nativity plays at my kids' school. Absolutely fantastic. Just all part of it, really. Thank you, everyone. We could go on and on. I've got all sorts of other subjects to talk about to do with being a witch as well. We'll have to continue. We'll have to have a part 2. It's been fab chatting because I'm actually off to have my jab, my vaccination this morning. So that's where I'm disappearing off to. Christine hopes didn't offend anyone. No, Christine, never, never, never. We all do this with total and utmost respect and a bit of humour as well. Jane says idolatry is more about people than ornaments. This is it, isn't it? I often think if someone's upset about something, it's not something I've done. I think the person needs to look at their own ideals. But there you go. Thank you, everyone. Michelle says they give their children Easter eggs. I don't have a problem with being given chocolate. I never have a problem being given chocolate. I'll take it. I don't care what faith it is. I'll take it. Thank you, everyone. What a fascinating chat. It is always really, really interesting. Rachel, looking forward to part 2. Jab tomorrow. Hope it goes. Yeah, my jab today. My husband had his last week and he was all good. So getting mine done this morning. Thank you, everyone, as always, for your support and bearing with me with any of the technical issues. We're getting there. We're getting sorted. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. And I will see you all next week.